let's kick it. So this is the image you're used to seeing. This is Glensheen the Beautiful, the Mighty, our fountain carved by George Thrana, our 27,000 square foot house, our 7-acre estate. But what I want to talk about tonight is the unknowns of Glensheen, the things you typically do not hear about. Things like the next slide that will eventually come forward. No, so this fountain, which, perfect. So the house is made in arts and crafts style, but also English Tudor. And notice that this is actually the original logo that the Condon family made for the estate. You'll see the English Tudor rose on each side. The weird thing about Glensheen is it's made in 1908, so it's in between different eras. It's a mixture of Art Nouveau, such as this. A lot of design comes from things like this. This is a peony from our estate, which someone in the audience knows very well. We've actually resplit these peonies over the last 100 years. So when you see these, you see much fuller flowers than you typically see because we've been redoing them for 100 years. And I kid you not, there's by chance someone in the audience who actually helped split these. This is actually our gardens at Glensheen. Believe it or not, we actually donate over 2,500 pounds of fresh produce a year. We are one of the lead donators to the Second Harvest Food Bank of fresh produce, and these are my children. Now, on another note, notice how large the plants are. Awesome. This is our boathouse. This is the only structural boathouse on all of Lake Superior. I also want to point out that we actually get to raise this flag, right on Memorial Day and then also on the 4th of July, which is kind of a fun event. And by the way, notice this banister that's missing in the middle? Yeah, those are not easy to replace. One thing I love about Glensheen is that we are the only rentable space in Duluth of Lake Superior property besides the city. And now that I don't have my city hat anymore, this is a lot easier to rent from than the city of Duluth. So I love that we had Renegade Comedy Theater actually use our beach for a Viking landing one day, which is kind of fun. This is the unknown tunnel. The Condon family actually built a tunnel underneath London Road to connect their little private trail from the beginning of Lake Superior underneath London Road, which you can see you can go on both sides, which actually leads to a whole other private trail system, which leads eventually to all the way up to Superior Street. They actually have a private dam and reservoir system. This is actually the reservoir here that has 14,000 gallons of water so they can water their plants with natural creek water. Also, they wanted to build a house on top of the reservoir, and they asked the city of Duluth to pay for it. Didn't happen. This, you may notice if you've ever been in the Condon Park, that you see these beautiful stone staircases all throughout Condon Park. Why? Because Chester Condon paid for it to happen. He actually purchased the land and then re-gave it back to the city so it would become a park. That's why it's called Condon Park. So next time you go through this park, realize that it's designed by an architect in New York City. If you haven't been to Condon Park, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you have not been there. You should be ashamed of yourselves. It is the most beautiful park in the city of Duluth. It's unbelievable that this is within our city limits. And the whole thing was really mostly a donation from Chester himself. And notice that it's mostly a private park today. This is actually our lettuce garden in the shape of a tall ship. Can you see the tall ship? This looks great now. In about 2 weeks, it looked terrible. But it was fun for Tall Ships event to have people on the shores of Lake Superior actually watching the ships go by Glensheen. It was just kind of a fun day. This is a really freaky doll we have at Glensheen. When I used to be a tour guide, I would purposely walk in the room, push the chair so that it would have this evil rocking noise as people walked in for tours. Her hair is made of human hair, and her eyelashes are human eyelashes. She's really good on our flashlight tour. Speaking of, this lamp is called Paris by Day, Paris by Night. This is what it looks like during the day. They purposely cut out the night scene so that when you have a flashlight at night, it looks radically different. It's one of the many things in the flashlight tour that honestly look really quite amazing. Don't get me wrong. We purposely built this tour so the house would be a little creepy at night, but also so you can see stuff like that. So if you do come to Glensheen, the first third of the tour for a flashlight tour is going to be a little weird. The 2/3 after that are amazing because you get to see how awesome the stained glass looks at night, how even our lampshades look different at night, and the history really does, I hate to say it, but kind of comes alive. Glensheen is so detail-oriented, it's just amazing to me. Even the desktop writing pads on the 3rd floor have the English Tudor rose just to match everything else is throughout the entire home. I mean, you don't see this on your own normal house. And it's just something that you have to really look for to see how highly detailed it is. This is what looks like to be a closet when everyone walks by on their tour. It turns out it's much more than that. It's actually a fun little room that when I became the director at Glensheen, this was the #1 thing I was excited to have a key for. Want to know what it is? Anyone have a guess? The silver safe. This is where the Condon family kept their family jewels and their silver. The crazy thing about the murder in 1977 isn't really just the murder. It's the family didn't want to come back to the house, so they left all of their silver. Inside this safe today is still those pieces. We have some of them on display. You have a special key for the door just to get in, and then 3 layers of security. The thing that made Glensheen famous in 1908, though, is this arts and crafts woodworking throughout the 3rd floor, which is designed by one of the premier interior designers in the state of Minnesota. To us, this looks normal. This is what we see in most of our houses in Duluth because they're built in the 1920s, 1910. In 1908, it was revolutionary. In fact, everything on that whole floor is so consistently arts and crafts and high-end that even the wastebasket is in that arts and crafts style. And in Walter's room, they actually have ebony inlaid in the wastebasket just to make sure it matches everything else. So, I mean, notice that the rug underneath us, by the way, these rugs that they purchased, one of them cost them $3,000 in 1908. Or $750,000 today. This little piece at the very end, just to show you that last little bit of detail, no one notices, but on the very end of the small piece that's only this big is this little snake head. It took me working at Glensheen for pretty much 10 years to actually visualize and realize this thing existed. So with that being said, thank you and enjoy.